Welcome to Healing Generations, a podcast creating a dialogue uplifting the importance of healing, strengthening, and supporting our communities, and that addresses the disparities and inequities in communities of color. Healing Generations is brought to you by the Healing Generations Institute, a collaborative initiative of the National Compadres Network and the Brotherhood of Elders. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on our new releases.
Welcome. I just want to welcome all of you around the world that are listening today to this podcast. This is coming to you from the state of California. And my name is Deborah Luis Camarillo, the proud daughter of Esteban Leos Camarillo and Anita Figueroa. And I'm coming to you from a lonely territory, which is up here in the Bay Area, next to San Francisco. And so it's been a beautiful day up here, considering the inconsistency we've been having here with the weather. But it's been a beautiful day, and so that has been very, very making my heart very happy to see Papa Sol out there just shining, with that beautiful energy. Comadre, how are you guys doing down there?
Oh, it's beautiful today, comadre. So grateful for that Tata Sol up there, Bonatiu, giving thanks, as always, like you said, this weather is so unpredictable these days. It reminded me of my menopause, hate to say it. Hot, and then it's cold, and then it's gloomy, and then it's sad, and then it's sunny. It's like, the laws of nature continue, and just trying to find the balance with all of it here in Los Angeles, California, the Tangva Gabrielino land, our people here. I just want to acknowledge that. But I'm feeling very grateful. And, as we get older, comadre, we just never know from day to day when you wake up where our body's going to be. But today is a good day. I'm up. I'm able to move around more than usual. So, I never take that for granted for my health. So, gracias a Dios for that. Thank you.
Yeah, some of those mornings, right? The longest journey just to get to the shower. Trying to get it going. But I just want to welcome you. If you're joining us, it's not by mistake.
No.
We're here. This is the Healing Generations podcast. And this is provided by the National Compadres Network. And we are so fortunate as the Comadres, the National Comadres Network, to host a monthly podcast targeted for women. And so we're very grateful, myself, and I get to do this along with my comadre, Maestra Susana Armijo. And we have the pleasure to introduce many different women from many different ways of life with different gifts, different professions, different life experiences. And the hope is, as the name of the podcast is Healing Generations, the hope is that as we have this conversation, you will hear something that's going to promote healing in your life. That something that is said today is going to spark that energy of healing within you or remind you of those areas that maybe you need to let go or maybe you need to embrace. And so that is our hope as we have these conversations and introduce you to different women from all around. And so we thank you for joining us today because we know it is a conscious decision that you make to go along with us on this ride. And sometimes it's a bumpy ride, sometimes it's a fast ride or a slow ride, but it definitely is a ride. So we thank you for joining us today. So, comadre, would you please introduce our guest of today?
Absolutely. Let's put her in the car with us as we're going to cruise through this conversation today. She is the beautiful Monica Diaz, our comadre, born in Kerman, California, and raised in Fresno, California. In 1992, she moved with her children to Santa Maria, California, to begin a fresh start and to rebuild her life as well as the lives of her children. She has worked for the county of Santa Barbara for 14 and a half years and has devoted 13 and a half years of service to law enforcement and the probation department. After many years with the probation department, she began working in nonprofit environments, supporting youth and families in her community. While still continuing to further her education, she graduated from Ellen Hancock College in 2017 and earned her BA in psychology from Brandman University. In 2021, she graduated with her Master's of Social Work and is now currently working to become a licensed clinical social worker, while also working with women who are pregnant or are in their postpartum stages. She has also dedicated many years of work and support. As a Gold Star mother herself, she continues supporting other mothers facing this challenge as well. She is a maestra in her own right, a daughter, a mother, a sister. She is a soldier of love, and she is our comadre. Welcome, Monica, comadre. So honored to have you here. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh my God, what an introduction. Thank you so much. Qué gusto de verlas de nuevo. Bendiciones. So honored
Gracias.
and humbled to be part of this discussion, esta plática que vamos a tener, this talk that we're going to have. So honored and humbled. Thank you very much.
So can we begin by you sharing with us? Let our audience know, who is Monica Diaz?
Monica Diaz. Well, as Maestra Susie said, born in Kerman, California, which is about 17 miles west of Fresno. Born in a clinic. My mom didn't make it to the hospital. So born at the clinic that the doctor had there, raised in Fresno, lived there most of my life growing up. Soy hija, daughter of Primitivo Vargas Diaz, Anita Rodriguez Artiaga. Both my parents born in the United States. My dad born in Lee Grand, but was taken as an infant back to Michoacan, where he stayed there for his first 5 years of life. And then they brought him to Mexicali, Baja California, and that's where he was raised. My mom's family from Talcosawa, Jalisco. Her parents came to Coachella, and they were there on the season of picking dates. And my mom was born under a date tree in a tent in Indio. Moved to Fresno, where they were raised at a house that they eventually bought, and working out in the fields most of their lives. And that's where my mom and my dad met, was sorting figs in a packing shed for figs, Eagles. And that's where they met, in Fresno. And both of them worked the fields most of their lives, all of their lives, actually. And I'm the middle of 6 children, raised up until 15 with just 5 of us. And then something happened and number 6 came along. We know what that happened was. And so there's 6 of us. I have a sister, Beatriz, older, Primitivo, older. And then it's me, sister Carmen, brother Furman, and then sister Angie. The age is 17. I married young. I married and had 3 boys, and the Creator blessed me with 3 beautiful boys. Absolutely love them. And then life happened, and I made the decision to start fresh with my boys, and I moved to the Central Coast in the end of 92 and have been here in Santa Maria since then. While here, and the Creator blessed me with a daughter in little pink dresses and bows and everything. And so, but as a single mom, have lived here since then and raised my kids on my own, and have done everything I can to progress and move forward with my kids in one form or another. And it has been a journey definitely that has not been an easy one, but how I see it now is that it has brought me many, many blessings and beautiful children and a life that I don't think I would have ever imagined or thought of when I made the move down here.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you so much. Beautiful. You know, I'm trying to imagine, because you're talking about all these experiences that you're having, but I'm looking at your bio at the same time and all the degrees that you've earned, and I'm like, how did she do that? Is she the single mother? Like, how? I can't imagine. I'm just wondering if maybe you can share some of your hard-earned wisdom there for maybe other
Mhm.
mothers that are single or struggling with that have that dream of achieving those goals and thinking that maybe that's impossible or not even considering it, in their situation. Maybe you could lend us some consejos for our listeners, our mujeres out there, palabras of inspiration to know that, you've done it, you've achieved, and it's possible. How'd you do that?
Yeah, most definitely not an easy journey. Back when I was living in Fresno, I actually went to Fresno City College. I was a high school dropout. And when I had my first son, I actually went back to adult ed and I got my GED because I knew that if I wanted just a little bit better life, I knew I had to have some kind of education, and a high school dropout was not going to make it for me. And after that, I enrolled at Fresno City College, and it was a long journey because I could only take, one or two classes. And then there was a lack of support. And education in my home growing up was not something that was encouraged. Even going to high school was not encouraged. I grew up in a dysfunctional family, and you went to school, okay, fine, legally how you had to go to school, so that truant officer didn't come to the house or whatever, you did what you had to. But what was encouraged was to work, hard work. You want to survive, you have to work. And so education was never something that was supported or encouraged. And I decided after I married that, and having my oldest son, I had to do something for myself if I needed to. And I enrolled at Fresno City College, and I knew what I wanted to do and I knew what my interest was. So it took me 9 years, but I got an A as an attorney assistant. I loved the law, and it was not an easy journey by no means, but I eventually did it. And when I moved to the Central Coast here by myself with my kids, I knew that my life needed to get better in a sense in working. And how is it that I can improve that for myself and for my kids? And I think I was on cash aid assistance, welfare back then for all of maybe 6 months. And I took a part-time job at a school. And then I eventually got my foot in the door with the county. But my desire to be somebody better in life and to provide and have enough for my kids, I knew education was the key. I knew education was the key. So I would take classes when I could and tried really hard. And unfortunately, even in my work environment, it wasn't supported, the idea of me going to school. And I have to be totally grateful to my kids. My oldest boy, Primo, he would help with the kids in the evening while I had a night class, or even my Joe would sometimes help. But I did go back and I eventually finished. I was going to school before my Joe passed. And I remember one time him saying, "Mom, are you going to get done soon?" And I said, "Yeah, I am. I'm going to get done soon." And, after my Joe passed, I took like a break from school. I even had to drop the semester I was in because it was in November. And I remember it's kind of like, no, I have to go back and finish. And so I did. I kept going and working and doing what I had to do. And I knew that this was going to be my way to provide not only for myself, but for my kids. But I think one of the things that I wanted the most was to be a voice, but not just a voice, rather than if someone heard my voice, they would actually hear me and notice me. And I wanted that for myself really bad because I didn't have that growing up. I was heard, but never noticed or seen, fully seen. And I wasn't being fully seen at work. I was another Latina that spoke Spanish and was able to translate for the probation officers or law enforcement or whatever, but I wasn't seen. And so that was my main thing about school, was having that voice, being heard, but also being seen.
I don't know how single mothers do it. I don't know.
Right.
And I have so much respect, especially nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
with the demands of the children with school. And I have a niece, and she has 4 children, and she's in school, and she's working. And I have just so much respect, for the single mothers out there struggling, trying to make ends meet, and then trying to keep all the homework for the children, and then trying to do their own studying, right? It's like everything happens just like they say, mothers eat after everybody's finishes eating, right? If there's food left, right? And then, mothers do their work after everyone goes to sleep, right? And so there's an incredible strength that I know that single mothers have to have. And truly, I have so much respect for them. But in that hard journey, Monica, as you're going through that, I bet you there was times that were so difficult.
Mm.
And when you're going like, oh my God, if it was something about how am I going to make the bills, or what am I going to do, or any of those struggles, right? But I know there was difficult times. What got you through those difficult times? What did you pull from? What resource was there that was there for you to draw strength in order to help you through those times, that are so difficult?
One of the things that I learned about myself and about my foundation, because I can remember specific challenging times each time I would try to improve my life in one way or another. Even being at Fresno City College, I remember getting beat up pretty bad by my ex-husband that I was too ashamed, embarrassed to go back to school. So I had to take a semester off or a whole year off. And that was challenging. I remember being here in Santa Maria, going to school and not having enough money for a book. And I had to figure it out. It's kind of like, okay, I can't do it this semester, so maybe I'll do it next semester. And then the biggest challenge was losing my son. That was November of 2004, and I was a student during that time. And it's kind of like you almost want to throw up your hands and say, screw this, I'm done. But I didn't. And I came to realize in my studies, in my master's program, we had quite a bit of writing, and the program at Humboldt State is based on indigenous cultures, practices. And I ended up writing quite a bit about my grandma. I went way back as an infant, and I didn't know that I had it in me. But in my writings, I went back and remembered being a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, even a 3-year-old, and my grandma making tortillas and feeding us. My grandma getting hierbitas from her garden, and she'd bring them back in and she'd wash them, and she'd put them in a jar, and she'd add this, that. And when my stomach hurt, she would get one of those jars and massage my belly. Or I remember one time spraining my ankle at school, and my mom took me to her house, and grandma massaged my ankle with one of those jars that had hierbitas and water or oil. I don't know what my grandma put in it, but she made me feel better. And I remember spending the night there with her many times, and I was the fortunate one that I got to sleep with her. At the time, I didn't think I was fortunate, going to bed with grandma. But before we would get in the bed, she had me kneel next to her, and she'd pray. And she had her santitos on her dresser, and she had a rosary, and she had her Bible, and she'd pray. And it was those teachings that I didn't know, obviously, that there were teachings in the moment, being so young. But writing about it, the one thing that I did find that in that very moment, it made me feel at peace and comfort with her, right next to her. It was just this sense of peace and comfort that I have each time that would happen. And I remember standing next to Grandma Teresa, and she would put her hand on my shoulder and just kind of like pat me and push me into her body. And it's just that comforting feeling that was just so tremendous that would fill me up in that very moment. And so I reflected on everything that Grandma had to endure because she suffered a lot trying to come, obviously, to the U.S. I'm sure she suffered in giving birth under trees of dátiles or wherever she was. And she, too, was married to an alcoholic and an abusive man. Yet she used the culture she knew, the teachings she knew, the medicine she knew to make me feel better. Me to feel better. And it's that what I reflected on a lot when I thought that I wanted to just throw up my hands and just give up and say, screw this, I don't want to do it anymore. But I remembered, and it's kind of like, no, I need to keep going. You know, I reverted back to what she taught me then. It's kind of like, okay, I need to bring in my faith in my Creator and the strength that He is offering, but I have to use it. I have to talk to Him. I have to use my prayers every day or my talking to Him every day to use that strength that I'm given and just move forward. Whether it's I take 5 steps forward and maybe 4 back one day, but maybe the next day I'm going to take 3 steps forward and maybe just 1 step back. But I have to do it. I have to use the strength and the courage and the culture that I'm given as a Latina to use that to move forward. And that's what I used. I reverted to that. And I would think so much about my kids. And I said, I can't be done yet because I still have my kids and I gotta do this for me and for them. And so I had to keep reverting and reminding myself, this is what I need to do. This needs to be done. It's not going to be easy, but it's okay because I'm not doing it by myself.
Wow. Powerful. I thank you for being so willing to share your internal process and how you're able to pull yourself up with that medicina, with that knowing, and in all the areas of your life, with all the challenges that you had to face. It's obvious that this is your medicine, this is your strength, this is how you continue to keep going forward and to not give up. When I was going over your bio earlier, I was really reflecting back. I didn't realize, I believe it was around 2009, maybe, when I first met you as a Gold Star mother, working with the American GI Forum and the veterans, along with Master Jerry and myself, helping to support the families and veterans returning from Afghanistan at that time. And it's the first time I got to hear you and hear you speak and share your story, and just seeing you in your power, advocating for resources for other mothers that were facing the same loss and the same challenges that you were still trying to heal from, but you didn't let it stop you. As hard as that was, I can't even imagine. I wouldn't even begin to try to imagine how to keep going after such a great loss. But just to see you speaking and seeing all these mothers just grabbing onto every word that you said, whatever you had to offer, all that medicine you had inside of you, just filling them with hope and inspiration to not give up and go forward. So powerful, and I'll never forget it. And I'm just wondering, for those mothers that may be out there listening that are facing the same kind of challenges, if there's some palabras or medicina that you can share with them, that could give them that strength and that courage to keep on going, to keep on searching, to keep on healing in spite of, and to not give up.
Ay, Maestra, that's a hard one because I still have to pull on that right now, even currently.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest and most difficult things I have had to do in life was have to bury my son.
Mm-hmm.
And the trauma that has endured in me obviously has changed the trajectory in my life hugely, because everything in my family foundation changed. The lives of me and my kids. It was huge because my son left on September 10th of 2004. And I can remember the day that he told me, Mom, I'm going to deploy again. And he was in my living room at home. And I asked him, Mijo, you have to go again? And he says, Mom, I'm going to go again. I said, why can't somebody else go? This was going to be his second tour. And he says, Mom, because I don't want fathers to have to go. He said, we have Marines in our unit that are fathers, and I think they should stay behind. He goes, Mom, I can't leave my Marines. I can't let them go by themselves. And, I was in the moment being selfish. It's like, come on, let somebody else do this job. Why do you need to go? Why does my son have to go? And I respected his decision. I did. As hard as it was, I respected his decision. And he left September 10th, 2004. We were at Camp Pendleton, and, I saw him for the last time somewhere between 3:30 and 4:30 in the morning. I didn't leave my standing spot in that parking lot until I didn't see the bus anymore. I saw him get on the bus. I remember the last hug he gave me and plans he had when he came back. And, Mom, you and I, because I'm going to take you to, there's a lot at Camp Pendleton, and take you to we're going to buy a truck, Mom. I don't want you driving around in that car. And, getting the call on November 11th, is when I got the call that he had been injured. And I got the call somewhere between 2:37 in the morning. I answered the call, and I had already been notified the night before that he had been injured. And we made our way. And I remember the doctor saying, he goes, Miss Heredia, because he thought that I was using my son's last name. He goes, I need to get the family out here because I don't think your son's going to make it through the night. And just that feeling, that hot feeling of, I got to see my boy again. What is this? This has to be wrong. Because I prayed. I went to church. I did everything I thought I was doing in my power to keep my son safe by talking to God, talking to the Creator, and asking him, please protect him, bring him home safe, watch over him and his unit. And I couldn't believe it. It's kind of like, this has to be wrong. It can't be this. And in the next 2 days, we made our way to Germany, and I ended up going to Germany with my younger son and my son's wife. And I think for me, the most difficult thing was seeing my son at the hospital bed and seeing all of his injuries. And it's not a visual a mom wants to see at all. And my first thought was, what can I do so my son doesn't hurt? As a mom, you want to take away the pain. You want to pick them up when they fall down, sana sana colita, and it doesn't hurt. You want to hurt for them. And I wanted so bad to do that for my Joe. I wanted to take away the hurt. I got to see him twice. He never woke up. We'd been in Germany just maybe 2 days. He was injured November 10th. And on November 19th, I went to bed that night, and I knew my son was sick. I knew he was in a lot of pain. And I just, I started talking to the Creator, and I started talking to God. And I said, if you need to take my son, then take my son. I'm okay with it. I didn't want to see him hurting because I couldn't take the pain from him. So that night, I slept maybe a few hours, and I think it was like 3:30 in the morning when I had a dream. And it was so vivid, so vivid, that it was my son talking to me in the living room at home. And he says, Mom, and on one side of the living room, he's on the other. He says, Mom, he says, I want you to make sure that, Monica goes to a Christian school. You make sure that Adrian, plays sports, Mom. Make sure that he stays out of trouble. And I said, yeah, mijo, I will. I felt in my dream that I was talking to him as the day he was when he told me that he was deploying. And I said, no, mijo, don't worry about it. I got it, mijo. I'll make sure that he plays, football. I'll make sure that he stays out of trouble. He says, Mom, you make sure that he goes to school, Mom. And it's like, no, mijo, I got it. I got it, mijo. Mom, make sure that you call Primo, make sure he's doing okay. I got it, mijo, so don't worry. And for some reason, he turned around and then he took like a step forward. Then he turned around and he looks at me and he goes, Mom, yes, mijo. Mom, yes, mijo. You're not done yet.
Mm.
I woke up. I don't know what he meant by I'm not done yet. I'm not done healing. I'm not done going to school. I'm not done working in the community. I'm not done working with other veterans. I got to keep going.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what I revert on each time is I think of the life of my son, what I taught him, the morals, values that I did in raising my kids as a single mom. And I revert and I look at that and I said, I need to keep practicing that. I need to keep living that. I can't just give up because my son is not here anymore.
Right.
I still have to be living those. And so I do. As hard as it was, and it was for the first 3.5, 4 years, it was really hard. But I had to keep reverting back to what I taught my son and what he lived by and what I taught them to live by. And I use that and I practice it for myself. Is it going to be easy? Has it been easy? No. But I have to go back, talk to the Creator, talk to my son if I have to, get me through this. Mijito, walk with me. Creator, walk with me. What do I do here? Give me strength. And it's gotten me here.
Wow. Well, and this is what we say, right? Transforming trauma.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Not allowing that trauma to define us.
Yes.
Because it's so easy. It's so easy to get stuck
Mm-hmm.
and to drown in the trauma, right? I mean, how many times have we heard or even ourselves said, why is this happening? I've done everything that I'm supposed to do. Creator, where did I miss it, right? Because we try to reason that part out, right? Or make a deal or whatever because it doesn't make sense why sometimes unfair things happen to fair people, why bad things happen to good people, or good things happen to bad people,
Right.
And so we try to reason these things out, right? And you might be asking yourself that question right now, those that are listening.
Mm-hmm.
You might be in a situation going, I don't understand. Why is this situation that might feel so unfair happening to me? But you didn't stop there, Monica. You didn't stop there. As difficult as it was, engaged in a path, in a journey of healing,
Mm-hmm.
in that path that it takes for us to transform those very, very difficult things, those traumatic things, those wounding things, those ever marking things, so that you can come out with healing or triumphant
Mm-hmm.
in a way, right? And I don't mean that in some big glorious way, but in a way that is reflective of goodness and carrying forth a legacy of someone else or a message from someone else to honor someone else. You were deliberate on that path, not to allow that to define you. And I know that you are working in the community and in the field, and it's just amazing. I remember when you got your master's, we were so excited and, applauses, because of your dedication of not giving up.
Yes.
But now you have the opportunity to affect lives, to impact lives, to give lives a vision that there are options, that, we can live life in a different way, a life that will bring a life of honor,
Mm-hmm.
right? A quality life. And so you have been working, with young people, early adults, right? Women that are just having babies, or maybe their children are very young, with those that have been struggling with mental health challenges, with those that are struggling with drug abuse. You have been placed there to be able to be a vehicle to affect transformation for them. not only as a miracle because you're still here, right? But actually as a symbol of hope that we really can overcome and see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so I want to ask you to share a little bit about that. Those that you are working with, or even the story of maybe, a life that you had the pleasure of working with that just, impacted you in this part of the journey for you.
Definitely has been a journey of many experiences. Working in the nonprofit environment, in a nonprofit capacity, gave me the opportunity to work with such an array of people, individuals, different cultures and practices and different life experiences. However, one of the things that is very important for me is one of my core values. And again, I bring this forward from my grandma, Teresa, and even my dad and my mom, is seeing that person for who they are and not judging them, and giving them the opportunity to receive the same services as anybody else. In working with youth, I not only through probation, but also through the nonprofit is, you have the opportunity to provide them and enlighten them with information that might change their mind into continuing their education, going back and getting a high school diploma, getting a better job or job skills that might help them support them and their family. And the one thing that I can say from that experience is I will run into some of these youth in my community at any given moment. And it feels so good that they will walk up to me and say, "Miss Diaz, remember me?" My daughter used to say, "Mom, I can't take you anywhere." Or my son will say, "Who the heck is that?" It's kind of like anywhere. I'm serious. I can be at a park in Santa Barbara, which is an hour south from here, and a youth has walked up to me when I'm having a picnic with my kids. "Miss Diaz, do you remember me?" I was driving through a Taco Bell in Napomo, which is 10 minutes north from here, one night, like at 10 o'clock. And of course, the cashier at the window, "Miss Diaz, hey, how are you?" Like, and the most recent one was a couple of years ago on Mother's Day. I went to 31 Flavors ice cream. I told my son, "Hey, I want an ice cream. Want an ice cream? Let's go get an ice cream." So get in the car and we go get an ice cream. And of course, COVID, you just one line in and you exit through that line and please keep your distance and all this other stuff. And this was last year. So I get in line and we're like right next to the door, waiting our turn, being patient. I already knew what I wanted. And I heard the door because you can hear the bell. And this young man stands, he's tall. And he looks at me, goes, "Miss Diaz." And I look around, it's like, oh my gosh. And I knew this young man. I knew his two brothers. And he starts talking to me and just grinning from ear to ear. And he hugs me, gives me a tight hug. And he whispers in my ear and he goes, "I love you, Miss Diaz. Thank you for everything you did for me." Those are just moments that's kind of like, yeah. And, during my master's program and being at Humboldt, I went over to work for drug and alcohol in San Luis Obispo County, which is right north of us. And I was their only Spanish-speaking counselor, behavioral health specialist. And I had group one night, and this was the last phase, third phase, where people need to only come once a week, and they're doing better. And I had this one gentleman, he's Portuguese, and had him already for probably about a good 8 months. And they're asking him, he goes, "So tell me what worked for you." All the other people in the group are saying, "What worked for you? What helped you?" And he starts, go, "Well," and, you have to decide, do you want to be sober? And he goes, "I got tired of being arrested for drunk in public." And he had something like 64 drunk in public citations that he received. And then all of a sudden he got really quiet. And, he had this blank look on his face. And I'm thinking, is everything okay? And I didn't say anything. And he goes, you know what? And he turns around and he looks at me and he goes, it's all because of you.
Mm.
He goes, because you care, Miss Diaz.
Mm-hmm.
Because you treat us right, Miss Diaz.
Mm-hmm.
That's what worked.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I can remember the first time he came in, he hadn't showered in weeks because he was living right off the river and clothes was not clean, but that's okay. You treat them with respect, kindness, and dignity.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they want when they come in. And that's anywhere you go.
Yeah.
Treat them with respect, kindness, and dignity, just as if we were walking in the door.
Mm.
And those are the ones that really can make a difference in our community because they're going to remember that. They're going to take it to wherever they go the next time or the next person that they interact with or doing work in the community. We want that. We want them. If we're going to provide healing, if we're going to give some kind of service, everyone deserves to be treated with respect, kindness,
Yes.
and dignity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. It reinforces that we never know what our invisible acts of power are doing each and every day. We never know. Like, could just be that smile that kept that person hanging on for a day, or just offering some kind words, like you said. And it's so simple, but you forget about the power of kindness, of compassion, of love and dignity, and all those things that are priceless and so necessary for our souls to heal and have that hope to keep on going. You've given us so much medicine already and priceless, hard-earned wisdom. But as we come to the end of our podcast, I'm hoping that maybe you would be willing to offer some consejos, some good advice that you would like to offer to others for the next generation that maybe could be helpful for them to be mindful of and to be aware of and just tuck away in their heart as they continue on their journey and they're meeting their challenges and striving to have that inspiration and hope to keep them going too as they continue. The things that maybe have helped you and that will help them in terms of their own health and healing. Healing generations, that's what we're about. Like, what are those words of consejos that you have to offer for this next generation?
There's two things that come to mind, but one of the things that comes to mind for me is I told each one of my kids growing up, and especially as teenagers, I would say it a little more often, was never forget where you came from. No matter where you end up, wherever you go, no matter what kind of job you have or how much money you're making or trips you take, never forget where you came from. And it's looking at, and in the world of our veterans, freedom is not free. As much as that slogan is everywhere, imprinted everywhere, and is said so much, it's not just in the world of the military. It's at every phase, in every culture, in every environment, and it's everywhere. Because if I were to look at it, even in mi own familia, mi gente, my family, I would say my freedom is not free because I have abuelitas and abuelitos that came and struggled and fought and worked to build that foundation for me and my brothers and sisters to progress and move forward. I have mujeres that I don't know that struggled and fought and birthed and cooked and taught and made medicina like my grandma did so I can be here. My life did not come free. There's people that struggled and fought before me in my familia, but also as a country. As a military mom of two that served their country, one as a Marine, my youngest boy, Adrian, as the Army National Guard Reserve. How many wars have we had that our veterans have fought and given and given? There's a monument in Sacramento, our capital, where our Mexican mothers are being honored for all the work that they did in past wars. In our military branches, the Mexicano and Native American are the highest population that serve in any military branch. There are many that have sacrificed. There are many that have fought and endured to give us what we have right now. And it's that breath of life and that breath of freedom. And we should not forget that. We should not forget where we came from, who endured before us, that it has given us that. And it's easy to forget. It's very easy to forget because we get so busy with life and other things that we tend to forget that was planted and given and built for us to get to this point in our life, for us to be here and live and enjoy this moment. The other thing I would say is you have control over the quality of life you want. Everyone is going to experience goodness, happiness, trauma, sadness, tears, heartbreak, everything. Everyone is going to experience that. But it's up to you. You have control over the quality in your life. What do you want out of your life? How do you wish to live? How do you wish to move forward? How do you wish to have your kids live? What do you hope to see in your life and have? You have control of that. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Doesn't mean that somebody's going to come and knock on your door and say, hey, Maestra Susie, mira lo que le traigo, una vida bonita y fácil. Pretty life and an easy one.
Right.
It doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
We need to do that for ourselves and use whatever best suits you to have that kind of life that you want. Whatever faith you have, whatever support system you have, whatever education you have, whatever skills you have, whatever that may be, you use it in your life.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And what perfect words to leave off with. That you have control of the quality of life that you want. And as you're listening, I want you to contemplate those words. Really ponder those words. You have control of the quality of life that you want. It's up to us. And as we're out there, yes, it doesn't mean life will be easy. But even in those tough times, when we connect to that is greater than us, whatever that spiritual resource, plug into that, activate your faith to help you through those times. Because we're all here as testimonies that when we pass through those times, if we stay on course, we will make it through. But it's never been promised that it would be easy. And so as we come to the end of this podcast, we want to just thank you. Thank you for being with us today and for hearing these wonderful words of hope and inspiration, that even in the most difficult times, even when the unimaginable happens, right, where a parent has to bury their child, there still is life and light at the end of the tunnel. And so we encourage you to continue to go. Do not get off of this path of healing. As tough as it might be sometimes, hang in there.
Yes.
Because they say joy comes in the morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
That darkness might last through the night, but joy will come in the morning. Mm-hmm. And we encourage you, hang in there and rest assured, because that won't last forever. So again, we just want to thank you for joining us today. This is the National Comadres Network that's putting on this podcast. And it's the opportunity to just sit down and take time for yourself to be encouraged by other women living and that are on this path of healing themselves. So, Maestra, how are you leaving?
Oh my God, I'm just so full. I'm so full, and I'm just Maestra Monica, so proud of you and your phenomenal courage. Been watching you for years and years and never stop being amazed by your endless dedication and devotion to love and support for your community, for others, for our comadres. I know, without a doubt, Creator and ancestors are so proud of you. About your grandma today. I know your grandmother's so proud of you, made her real happy today. And I have no doubt that your son is very proud of you as well. Feeling so honored today and so happy. Like I said in the beginning, you are a soldier of love. It's an honor, Maestra. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So with that, we just want to thank everyone today for joining us. We want to thank all the support that we have. We have it from the National Compadres Network, our technician, Emilio Teo, the support of Maestro Jerry Teo, and all those that help us along the way, the Women and Girls Department here at National Compadres Network. And again, a heartfelt thank you. And I'm just going to say, Monica joined us in elderhood. And so as a new arriving elder, bienvenida. And thank you for joining us today. With that, we say bendiciones.
Bendiciones.
Until the next time.
Adelante.
Bendiciones.
For more information about Healing Generations and the Healing Generations Institute, visit nationalcompadresnetwork.org and be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with our new releases.